Boxing heavyweight legend George Foreman has died at the age of 76. Known as Big George in the ring, the American had one of the most remarkable as well as enduring careers in the sport, winning an Olympic gold medal back in 1968 and also claiming the world heavyweight title twice, 21 years apart, the second making him the oldest champion in history at the age of 45. Foreman then claimed his first heavyweight title in 1973 in a second-round knockout against Joe Frazier. He then lost his first title to Muhammad Ali in their famous Rumble in the Jungle fight of 1974 in Kinshasa in the DRC. But Foreman's professional boxing career boasted an astonishing total of 76 wins, including 68 knockouts, almost double that of Ali. He retired from the sport in 1997, but not before agreeing to put his name to a best-selling grill, a decision that brought him fortunes as well as dwarfed his boxing earnings. His family has described him as a devout preacher, a devoted husband and a loving father, as well as a proud granddad and a great-grandfather who lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, as well as purpose. All right, to get more reflection on the late boxing legend, let's now welcome on the show boxing journalist Mr. Peter Leopeng. Peter, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Tragic news, right? But tell us about this late boxing legend, George Foreman. I mean, besides being a boxer, what were his other contributions to society?
Really, it was a shock because he was only 76 years of age, a relatively young age, really, to die, especially from an athlete of his caliber. You know, somebody, as you said, who won the Olympic gold medal in 1968 in Mexico, and went on after that to claim 2 heavyweight titles. The second one at the age of 45, making him the oldest heavyweight champion in history. So even that record is still holding right now, 45. So he was a great man. He was a great man. He fought Muhammad Ali. Everybody expected him to beat Ali in 1974 in Zaire. The fight that was taken there by promoter Don King. And Ali was supposed to be annihilated, you know, in just a few rounds, but he shocked the world, Ali, and won that fight. And funny enough, you know, that fight, that was George Foreman's first loss, but it was the funny thing that now that fight, that loss, actually elevated him, you know, in my opinion, to be in the top 5 heavyweight boxing champions of all time. Muhammad Ali being number 1, the greatest. And yeah, it went on from there. And you asked, for instance, what other attributes did he have other than as a boxer? Yeah, he became a church minister. He preached, came back after 10 years after retiring. He retired in boxing after he lost Muhammad Ali. He had 2 more fights, and he retired for 10 years. Came back after 10 years, and we all thought that, you know, he was crazy. What could he be doing at that age? But he went on and then beat Michael Moore and knocked him out to become heavyweight champion for the second time as a boxer. So yes, and then after that he endorsed the famous Foreman grill, and apparently he made much more money there as in that product than in the ring as a boxer. That's how powerful he was as you know, as an endorsement, and people loved him and wanted to hear what he said. And I think for me, it really what endeared him to people was the fact that, you know, he could laugh at himself. You know, he really laughed at himself. He didn't take himself seriously. When people were joking about how he lost to Muhammad Ali, he took it in his stride and joked and said, yes, you know, I was the dope. Because remember that fight, Ali did what he called a rope-a-dope. And George Foreman says, Ali went to the rope and I became the dope. You know, so he was really, yeah, he was fun. He was really a fun man.
Absolutely, and a controversial figure both in and outside of the ring as well there, Peter. How can then young people, I mean, we know that he was also a businessman and also an author, among others. So what can young people do then to learn from him as well as to emulate that into their everyday lives?
Yeah, very good question, because now that's what we've been talking about in boxing, to say, we have young boxers, how do they make themselves visible out there, and how do they promote themselves? You should be able to talk, you should be able to promote yourself, and that's what George Foreman did. He was a promoter's dream. The promoter didn't have to promote the fight. George Foreman was there. George Foreman could talk. George Foreman could make jokes, and most importantly, George Foreman could punch. He could fight as a boxer, and he did that. He went in as a boxer. He demolished all his opponents. I mean, at the time he fought for a world title, he had a record of 40 fights and no defeat. So, I mean, that was a really, really incredible record at the time. So, yes, boxers should really know, how to speak, how to promote themselves, and then, and sponsors will come through if they say that, this is the man that you can really sell my product. So George Foreman was like that, and with this George Foreman grill, yes, it's reported that he made over $100 million just promoting that grill.
And I mean, Peter, looking at, you've just raised a very important aspect of how the promotion of boxing as a sport here in South Africa is still very much behind. And you've actually basically given the baton to the boxers themselves to actually go out there and promote themselves, be seen by the sponsors. But what can they also do to try and also just get that extra strength as well as recognition to ensure also that you have a lasting legacy, not just inside the ring, but also outside as well?
Well, yes, and that, by the way, goes also for all other sports people, not just boxers, because the problem with sports people, they earn big monies in what they do, and then they go out and then they blow it out, and in no time, we have seen them, most of them, they're destitute, they don't have money. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from. And it's very, very sad, as some of them are former world champions, and not just once, but many times world champions. I'm talking about the boxers now. So that's what they should do. They should look after their money when you fight, but also be a good boxer. You must dedicate yourself to the sport. You must train very, very hard. And like Brian Mitchell, former world champion, used to say, he drank, ate, and slept boxing. That's what they need to do. They need to take their craft seriously, because, see, as a champion or a boxer, you're not going to be there forever. Boxing is a sport that lasts for about 5, 6 years. So in that 5, 6 years, you must earn as much as possible and make sure that you look after yourself, you eat properly, and you train. And yes, you portray a very, very good image out there.
Absolutely. He retired at 45 there, Peter, and we understand he had a record of those 76 wins, and 68 of them were actually knockouts. Quite an interesting record there, as well as only 5 losses during his entire career. Peter, we really appreciate you speaking on Big George this afternoon. That is Mr. Peter Leopeng, a boxing journalist, on the passing of boxing legend George Foreman.